So in this first tutorial, we're going through the basics of Pedigree Publisher, which is our new Pedigree software that's replacing Pedigree Explorer. So this is the application window. I don't have anything open at the moment, and I'm going to create a blank database. So we select File, Create Database. The dialog pops up. First thing we have to do is select the file where we're going to store the file. And where you would normally store it is in Users Public Documents Breedmate, although you can save it anywhere except in a Program Files x86 subfolder. So we'll create a new one. Just call it sample 7. All the files have a .db extension, so we'll save that. Select the dog type. Now this is important because it will select a different template with different fields specific to dogs or cats. So we'll do a dog one for the moment, and you can select a breed. Not really important to select the breed, as you can select that at any time later on. So we'll just click OK here. This is basically the grid view where you will enter most of your data. It looks a little bit like Excel. It's not based on Excel. So to add a record, we'll just type a name and either click Add Record or hit the F5 key. So we'll click that. Now we can just type normally. So I'll just type M. Put in the date of birth in the current format. If you want to see what the format is, go to Tools, Alter Database, and you can see date of birth is day, month, year, although you can change it to whatever format you prefer. So the 3rd of the 12th, 1998, and the sire we'll say is David. Now, because there is no other matching record with the name David, Pedigree Publisher will prompt me and ask if I want to create one. So we'll say yes, and there we can see there's David. So the way Pedigree Publisher builds a pedigree is to link the names in a sire or dam field to the name in another record. So we'll create another one here, Mary. And similar thing with Mary, and I've said yes, create a matching record, and there's Mary. Now with so we can type in a registration number, title, so what it's doing there with the color is there's a lookup field for the color, and so when you enter a new record, it'll come up in that list, and you can select it again without having to retype it. So let's go to Fred's parent, David, and we could just keep entering our pedigree that way. Just keep entering names. If you are entering a sibling, once a parent is entered, you never need to re-enter it. So if Fred has a sibling with the same sire, you can just reference that. Okay, now to view a pedigree, all we need to do is select from the pedigree forms, and we can see there's Fred with his titles, and his date of birth, sex, default breed, which I've said we can change anytime, the registration number. And here are the parents. There's a few other things we can do. You have all of these forms that you can display the pedigree in. Just to make it a little bit more interesting, I will open another database. This is the sample database. So when you get Pedigree Publisher, this is what you will see. It's really just for playing around. When you want to start your own database, as I said, just use File, Create Database. You might notice a few these coloured bars here on the left. These are marks, which are a convenient way of marking records with colours. So I can just clear all of those. I'll just quickly demonstrate how you can add marks. Just select the records and pick the mark colour that you want, and then just click the button and it's marked with that. And if I select some other ones here, there's also a secondary mark colour that I can click. The database that Pedigree Publisher uses is SQLite, and that's a very common embedded database. It has a huge capacity, really thousands of billions of rows is what it can store. Huge limits on the number of fields as well. You can see there's a lot of fields in this pedigree table, but you can add more fields just by using Tools, Alter Table. So you can go down here and add more fields, and you can set the type of field that it is, the format, how you want to see it, the width, the color of the text, the background color, and the tables that it links to. And so now we'll have a look at a few more pedigree forms. So I'll select the subject and look at that pedigree form there. And you can see that the marks also come through. That's these small coloured marks. And that's an option on the toolbar here. So you can show no marks or marks as coloured text, so I can colorize them by that coloured mark. I can show champions in red, so we're highlighting that these ancestors have championship titles. Anyway, there's a number of options there. We won't go through all of them. And various types of pedigree form. We also have the family tree. That's 7 generations. And this is another family tree. And a pedigree chart. Now the pedigree chart has no repeated ancestors, so you'll see with this one, for example, its dam is Armandine's Celtic Beauty, which is also the dam of Armandine Digger. So there's no repeats, which means that you can show a lot more generations. In this particular case, we're showing 25. Now to zoom in and out, you can just use these buttons or hold down the control key and use the mouse wheel. And if you zoom in, you can click with the mouse button and drag it. If you select an ancestor, you can see its immediate offspring and its parents. You can do a search. So if I'm looking for Swain, I'll click that, and there it is. So if you've got hundreds of ancestors in there, it makes it easier to find. Going to one of the other pedigrees, let me just scroll that back here, we can edit the forms as well. I won't go through all the details of editing in this tutorial, but needless to say, you can change any aspect of the form. All the forms that come with Pedigree Publisher we designed using this tool. So it's quite easy to add your own fields, different number of generations and so forth, colors. Anyway, we'll go back to the actual form. We also have text type reports. So these are quite easy to copy and paste into an email, for example. Ancestor lists, so we're seeing the ancestors in generation 1 and 2 and so forth. There's a number of reports here, but again you can edit the text reports. There's a very powerful scripting language in which you can write the text reports. So we can see here print line, date of birth, the subject's date of birth. And if we look here, that's the date of birth. Oh, it doesn't have a date of birth, as you can see here. So those are the text reports. Again, very quickly, we have data doc. That has a huge number of options for checking your data. And we can do a simple one here for missing parents and run that, and we can get the results. And by clicking through these, you can fix a lot of common data errors. Just bringing that back for a minute. Again, very briefly, Merge Manager, that's an interactive way of loading in another database and looking for differences. Relations, we'll go back here. So if I want to check all the relations of this entry, I can just click on this. We can see it's sire and dam and all their details, and the siblings, ancestors in various generations. And there's a number of other views in here. I can't go through all of them at the current time. One that I have just selected though is Pedigree Calculations. Now this works on the entire database, so you can select the number of generations you want to calculate the inbreeding coefficient to, and just hit calculate. You can see it's fairly quick. It'll even handle a database of 100,000 records in certainly less than a minute. You can see all the details of the entry, the main details, along with the calculated values of inbreeding coefficient, the AVK, number of offspring, number of siblings. And if you want to, you can save the results to a CSV if you want to do some further processing on that. Just going back to our grid view, as I said, this is the main entry view here. If I'm, for example, adding a sire here, I can type part of the name, and it will list all matching names. Just type red, so these are all the entries that have red as part of the name, and I can just click that and hit enter. So it's fairly easy to add sires and dams. And you also have this navigator, which is a pop-up thing, easy to dismiss. Just click on here to bring it up. With the navigator, I can look at any particular field, such as name. Well, if I put in name, it will list all the matching names with that string. If I was looking, say, in registration number, put in, say, 14, I can see all of the entries that have 14 in their registration number. So I can do this on any field. So this is a list of the search results. I can then click on one of these, and you'll notice in the background here the grid view has jumped to that entry. And I can also see the relations, and I can edit that entry in this view here. And that completes our first tutorial, Introduction to Pedigree Publisher.